Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Quantum Leap Morning Leap session for Tuesday, April the 17th, 2018. My name is Doug McKay. I am the founder of Quantum Leap Futures. Each morning we get together in these live go-to sessions to take a look at the market, macro to micro, take a look at the structure of the market, and then we drill down to our trade levels, our targets, and our hypotheses. Our hypotheses are our trade plans. We do create multiple hypotheses. We do not know what the market's going to do. Therefore, we execute different scenarios or hypos that are our trade plans, and based on who takes control, the buyers or sellers, we have a plan in place. And then we have alternative hypotheses, which are our expansion plans. I got a couple emails about the length of the videos, so there's not much I can do about that because I believe it's important to put the context. But if you don't want to listen to the whole recording, the hypos are at the end, usually around the 15-minute mark, 15, 16-minute mark. But, I do recommend that you listen to the whole video to give you the context of why the hypos are laid out as they are. This is a subscription room. If you're interested in checking it out, send me an email at quantumleapfutures@gmail.com. There's no website. There's no blog. This is not a commercial venture. I do everything live here in the go-to in the pre-market session. Then we do live trading and analysis during the course of the trading day. Please read through the disclaimer. Nobody at Quantum Leap is a certified trading advisor. We are retail traders operating within a self-organized learning environment. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and any trades that you see in Quantum Leap are for education purposes only. Please trade your own due diligence, your own trade plan, and your own risk metrics. Taking a look at yesterday. Yesterday, our main hypothesis was an open auction in range, out of value, a move down to test the value area high, and somewhere between the 66 and the 60, we were looking for buyers to step in and rotate us up and break out above the week high at the 80.50 and go up and hit the test the key line in the sand, which was the 84.50, and continue to the 91.75. Well, we broke out and we got above the key line in the sand, but they failed at the 87 and put in a double top there, and then they came down and they just chopped around, just fighting the high from the Friday. So we are looking for continuation in the Globex, and in the Globex, that's exactly what we got. Taking a look at the Globex session, inventory is pretty much 100% net long. We opened up right near the VPOC, chopped around, tested to break out, failed to break out, came back down to the 81, and then they finally broke out, and then we just sort of drifted up, and we've been drifting up on a slow grind higher, and coming up, hit the 91.75 target, pushed through, and we're trading just at or below our next trade level, which is at that 26.9850. So we're creating a weak high here in the Globex as well. Triple distribution, a little bit of an LVN here at the 97, and one down here at the 87.50, but we'll get into all that in just a few minutes. Let's take a look at the news. We did have building permits this morning at 8:30. They came out better than expected, 2.5 versus 0.7. Building permits March, 1.354 versus expected 1.33. Housing starts came out as expected, and housing starts in March came out better than expected. And manufacturing sales in Canada came out better than expected. So didn't really give us much of a pop. I think it was only like a 3-tick pop up into the 98.50 area, and that was it. Coming up in 4 minutes, we've got Red Book. 24 minutes, we've got capital utilization. What we've got a lot of, again today, as we did yesterday, is a lot of Fed members speaking. We've got Williams in 24 minutes. We've got Corals, I should say, at 10 o'clock. We've got Harker at 11. Then we've got Evans at 1:10. And then again, Bostic later on this afternoon. So a lot of Fed member speaking. They're getting ready to let the market know they're going to be raising rates again, and that's all the chatter right now. Other than that, there's really not a lot more news, scheduled news, but again, a lot of headline news. The amazing thing is that this market is just not scared of anything right now. It's holding up quite well. You get a war, a war set up in Syria. What does the market do? Go up. You get all this, Trump and Cohen and now Hannity stuff, and market does what? It goes up. So let's take a look at the macro to micro, because I think that's important to understand that this trend is still very much intact. I do this every day. It's a simple candlestick chart. I start with the monthly. And what I'm doing is I'm using a 9 EMA, 20 SMA. Just want to give myself a good idea of how strong the trend is, the strength of the trend, good slope, good separation. Is price paralleling the 9 nicely? We had that 14 months of one-time framing up. Then in February, they violated the one-time framing. March, they held the 9, and so far in April, we're holding the 9 as well and starting to move up towards the open of last month, which was at 26.35. Going to the weekly, sorry, was it 26.35 or 27.35? I'm sorry, the close of last month. The close of last month was right where we're at 26.98. Going to the weekly, you can see that we had broken below and we were looking like we were going to get a trend change. And of course, what do they do this week so far? They take it back. I talked about this yesterday, that we've got a naked cross on the weekly at 27.0675. It's just above the midpoint of that gap up. And let's take a look at that gap on the daily. We'll go take a look. This is a 24-hour chart. We'll take a look at on the RTH chart. You can see that we came down. We've got a bit of a rounding bottom here, and we're broken above the 9 and the 12, and it looks like we're getting a continuation of this trend up. Going to the intraday, you can see that the intraday in the last several sessions has been trending up quite nicely. Good slope, good separation coming into the RTH Open. So let's take a look at that structure. This is the gap zone that I'm talking about right here. The last place that we tried to hold value before gapping down is up here at the 1850. That is our target, the major target above. Of course, the next target above is the mid of the gap, which is at the 27.05. 50, which just happens to be just above this 27.05 and a quarter major CLVN. We're at a key trade zone right now at this CHVN, and this, just above this prior high here of 98 and a quarter. And if we can break through this, I'm looking for them. There's a lot of, I talked about this yesterday, that there was a lot of thin air above. And there is. So we could very easily come up into this gap zone and push into that 27.1275 area. Key levels to watch right here. 91.75, our target from yesterday, is going to be a key level above. Obviously, the range high from yesterday at 87, 84.50, and if we fall below the 74, that's going to be my over-under line. That is the last 16 days of value, the value area high of this micro composite, and we could fall back to the longer time frame micro composite, which is down here at the 2656.50. So again, overnight inventory is net long with the weak high created at the 98.50. In terms of right now, it's probably going to put in a new high before we get to the RTH session. So I'm not going to bother putting in the high yet. Taking a look at the possible gap, if we open here at 98 and our close yesterday was 81.25, our half gap fill is going to be 89.75, and that's just approximate right now because we don't know where we're going to open. We still have about 30 minutes. And we've got this 91.75 target was hit, becomes a trade zone. Our VPOC from overnight is not likely going to change, 95.25. That is the immediate target below on the open. If we hold up here and we open up here, I'm anticipating a move back immediately to that 26.95 if we do not get a gap and go day. All my other levels are pretty much set. Let me just bring in, of course, we've got the 99.75. I'm going to just shift that to the 2700. And really, there's not a lot up here to guide us in between the 98 and the 18 area. So I do have a key line in the sand above, which is the 27.12. The reason that I'm using that is that's the value area low of the 3-day microcomposite, which was the last area where we tried to hold value before gapping down. So let's just go right into our hypothesis. My hypo 1 is a open auction out of range. I'm looking for a rotation down towards the 95, push through to the 91, and somewhere between the 91 and the 87.25, I'm looking for buyers to step in and take us up through the overnight high and test into this gap zone, which basically runs from the 98.25 up to the low of 27.12.50, and expecting to chop around in here and maybe come back and close somewhere down here in the 98. So hypo 1, open auction out of range, push down somewhere between the 91 and the 87. I'm looking for them to find buyers and rotate up. We might get a dip inside of the prior day range, but I'm not expecting to close the gap completely today in hypo 1. Hypo 2 is a open auction out of range. Immediately push up, take out the overnight high, test into the 2700 and somewhere between 2700 and 2705, find sellers, rotate us down into the 91 area, chop around, and then get a late day probe down to this 2680, and then start basing there and start working our way up and closing somewhere up here in the 91 to 95 area. That's hypo 2. We are going to open up in a gap, so we have to be looking at gap and go. So I'm looking at an open test drive, a move down to test the overnight VPOC. Buyers step in immediately, push us up into the 2705, chop between the 2700 and 2705, and then push up into the 2712, get a little bit of resistance, and then pop up into this 2720, 2718 area with maybe a late day probe up into the 33 to 34. Our 20 period daily ATR is running at 54.74. So what does that mean? It means that we have range capability based on our overnight low of 78.75 of coming all the way up into the 27.34 before we actually expand our 20 period average true range on the daily. So, hypo 3 is really going to have, a good possibility today. I can't guarantee it, but this is Tuesday. This could be a breakout day. We've broken above the key level that we talked about yesterday at the 84.50, and we're up in thin air up here with not a lot to guide us. So we can move pretty quickly through this area and go and fill that gap. Hypo 4 is a turnaround Tuesday, a open auction, out of range, push up, fail miserably in the low 2700s. Sellers step in really strongly, take us right back down into this 2680, push through, test the year open and the week open. The year open at 2675.75 and the 2673. Remember, I'm using the 74 area as my over underline. Fail that and push right back down and come right back into this balance down here in the 26.56. Now, our overnight high currently right now is running at 98.50. So 98.50 less the daily ATR 54.74. Our daily downside ATR target is all the way down at the 43.75. So that's a pretty big range right now that we have as far as possibilities of our 20 period daily average true range. So those are my four main hypotheses. Going to the gold. Again, gold, broke out, pushed into that 69.40, come back right into balance, and we're chopping around in balance, and we're testing this 41 area. Below 41, look for the 37. Anything below the 34, then I'm looking for the longer time frame balance to come down here into 1329, and maybe even a trip down into this 1990. If we can get above the 45, look for them to push through to the 48 and test that 49, and any breakout of the 49, I'm looking for a push up into the overnight high up here in the 52.50 and possibly even into this 57.25. Don't want to spend a lot of time on that. I haven't been doing a lot of gold trading as of late, and focusing on the ES right now with the expanded range. That's going to complete our pre-market session. As always, trade well, trade safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.